we want to have as much time for Mary Jo as we can for questions and answers. So let's go.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming today. We really do appreciate it. This is probably one of the biggest turnouts we've had, and that can credit Joe a lot to that. But also, I want to thank my sponsors, who are the Wells Fargo Private Banking, Mark Buchanan and Brad Crawford. So I can't say enough good things about the service they provide. I've been using them now for quite a while, and I think you get the same type of service. I mean, the communication, the follow-through, the sense of urgency, all those things that we like, they can provide. So if you are in the need of a good lender, I suggest you talk to one of these two gentlemen afterwards. I think we are honored to have Joe talk to us today, and Joe's going to talk to us about Milton past, present, and future. And like Jim mentioned, I'm sure he'll entertain any questions in that regard. So let's give Joe a big hand and appreciate him coming.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jim. Well, good morning to everybody, and welcome to Milton if you're not from this area. So I think this is, to Alex's point, this is kind of this place has the feel to me of Milton. A little bit different, you know, not too far from all the amenities, but it's quiet and peaceful. For those of you that don't know, the City of Milton is going on 13 years old. We were incorporated in 2006. I have the distinct honor of being the best mayor that Milton has ever had, and also the worst. So, a lot of people ask me, you know, how did I become the mayor, and what was my desire to run? And obviously there was, you know, I've got a lot of stories, and you know, the truth is, wanted to help out and make it a better place for all of us. But I also have to add in a little honesty too. You know, a couple too many beers and buddies punching you on the shoulder going, come on, I dare you, I dare you. So pushed me over the edge. But anyways, what Milton, the boundaries of Milton, it's a little interesting. We're about 40 square miles and about pushing 40,000 people. So we're one of the larger cities as far as land mass in the state. I think like the 7th. Basically, we were the unincorporated part of Fulton County, the northwest portion, for years and years, which used to be Milton County back in the 20s. And the desire for cityhood was more of local control, and a lot of it had to do with zoning and whatnot. Because as you know, Fulton County is 70 miles long. You got the folks and the commissioners, you know, in Atlanta that are making decisions for here, and most of them never even been up here. So that was the desire for local control. The interesting thing is I've seen it change over the last 13 years. Originally it was everybody just leave us alone. Everybody lived out here, you know, hey, we don't want the government, you know, messing with us, just leave everything like it is. But I'm proud to say, I think for the same tax dollars that the county was charging, we have given a lot better services and made a big difference. But with that change comes expectation. So now what I see, everybody wants more. They want more amenities, they want more parks, they want this and that. So it's interesting as you improve things, then it raises the bar for you, so it struggles a little bit. Milton is, it's interesting. We're about 85% of Milton is is either residential or agricultural property, non-commercial. We only have about 15% zoned areas for commercial or high density development. We also only have sewer in about that 15%. So part of what keeps Milton rural like this is the lack of sewer itself, because you have to have septic tanks and a minimum of 1 acre. A lot of people it's interesting, they'll say, well, you guys need to have more development, you need more high density, you need more commercial in order for your tax basis and for our digest. Well, the interesting thing, we're in kind of a little sweet spot. Typically a city is usually 40–50% commercial and the other half residential to be able to sustain itself, tax revenues. What we've got, if you look around Milton, there's so many, you know, $800, $900, $1 million and up homes and properties, and a lot of them on large properties, that I think the number's somewhere around 400,000, maybe off, it may have changed, but $400,000 and less home actually cost the city and municipality money for the services. As you get on up, the taxes pay more than what the services that they require. Well, if you look at Milton, we've got so much of that and people don't understand sometimes. We'll have sometimes a builder developer come in and say, well, you guys need some more development and help your tax basis. We're in kind of a sweet spot by if we had more development, since we've got the high priced homes and properties, that's paying the revenues. If we have more development, then all of a sudden that offsets and we'd have to have more cost to service that, fire, police, parks, roads and whatnot. So, we, as the City of Milton, we're not promoting density or, development per se, other than what's legally allowed. But, obviously it's changed a lot, over the last several years. And I tell people it will change. The next 20 years, it will change. But what we like to think is it's going to change different than everywhere else. As everywhere changes, we hope to keep Milton unique and less dense than everything else. So, you guys being in the real estate world, it's interesting. Probably the number one complaint and thing I hear is traffic and density and new homes. They don't want to. But the number two thing I hear when they email and contact me is it starts out with, I just moved here to get away from that. So, it's kind of a tough balance because you have a nice place to live and it's beautiful and everybody wants to live here. So, a lot of folks want to shut the door once you do it, and legally that's not fair either. One of the funniest things I always get is everybody says with the traffic, because most of our traffic problem is cut through traffic from Cherokee and Forsyth, and everybody says, well, we need to put a toll road or a toll booth on the gate. And I say, I totally agree. I said, that's going to be great to put a toll gate there. Except when you get down to Alfred and Roswell, and they've got a toll gate there too. It's not going to help us. So, but anyways, it's and I won't ramble on too much. I did tell Jim I've got a timeshare proposal since we've got you for about 4 hours. I want to play after this. But it's been interesting to be a part of a brand new city. And again, it was I'm by trade I'm a commercial general contractor, and by doing that, I'm not an expert in anything. I hire the experts in each field and kind of manage it. And and I knew that would work out well for me with experience with the city, even though some people thought it was a negative because they thought I would promote building, which I don't. But it was interesting, the first day after I got elected, and the next day I sat down with our skeleton group, and they were worried our budget was in the red and it wasn't balanced, and I just took a deep breath. I said, let's get everybody around the table, and just like I would do with construction project. Okay, we're over budget. Let's talk to the plumber. You got any ideas? Let's talk to the landscaper. Let's talk to the electrical engineer. What can we do? And as we went around to each department and went through things, 2 hours later, so we had a balanced budget. So, but the interesting thing with a new city is you can do things that are outside the box and think outside the box like we would all do in our private world and our private business. It's not like you got, 150 years we've done this way and that way. So, and I'll give you examples which I really enjoy because you find a solution and it makes sense to our taxpayers and our citizens. For example, when the city was first formed, we were spending about $1.2 million on right-of-way maintenance and cleaning parks and this type of stuff, patching potholes. We've got it down to about $700,000 now. And the way we did that, we've got our supervisors that work for the city, but we don't hire, we subcontract it out to landscape companies or other companies, private companies, and put it out to bid every couple of years. So it keeps it competitive. They have the incentive to do a good job so that they can renew their contract, and it saves a bunch of money. Another example, when we were first formed, obviously we had to set up police and fire, and we had to cover the city. And on the east side of Milton, which the interesting fact is on the east side of Highway 9 is 5% of our landmass and 45% of our population. So we had to have fire protection there. Well, we didn't have a fire station. So we had a brand new, $1.5 million ladder truck that we just had to park over by our old city hall, have the guys, run around just to be available in case something happens. Well, that's not a good situation. So I go over and knock on Alpharetta's door and say, hey, I noticed you guys have got a brand new you've got a fire station sitting over here. We've got a brand new ladder truck that we don't have a home for. I noticed you've got an empty bay with nothing in there. How about if we work a deal? Can we park our truck here and keep a crew here? And in return, I notice you don't have a ladder truck. You get a call and it's in Alpharetta and you need the ladder truck, we go do it. And we also keep our ladder truck there for free. So again, it doesn't cost any citizens, taxpayers, or cities any more dollars. But it, you know, we share in the cost, and we do that with 911 and a lot of other things. So that's the kind of stuff that's kind of fun to do when you can make a difference and look outside the box and not do it like everybody does for history. So, you know, moving forward, I'll be termed out. I've got 2 more years left on my term, but you know, again, moving forward, you know, the city is really trying to be different, trying to control growth. We do have the Birmingham Crossroads area up here where the Publix is. We've got Crabapple, we've got Highway 9, and we've also got some area on 140 that we do want to promote for development and whatnot. So there are services and all that, but it's a very small The other thing that we've done last year, we put out to the voters for a bond, and we've got a $25 million bond that passed, that the city is buying property just to preserve. And part of the requirements of that, if we buy the property, it has to stay passive and you know, trails and, you know, open to the public, but no development on it and whatnot. So we, in fact, the other night just approved another 88 acres. We bought the old Milton Country Club, and several, and we got a few more in the hopper. But you know, that's all intended to just try to save some property, give it to folks, you know, to use years and years from now. And I'll kind of close with it. It's interesting how it's tough being, you know, on both sides, and as not only as a citizen and as a private business person, but as an elected official. It's a tough situation. I told people all along, I said, look, I hope that if you're sitting on my side with the same information, we 90% of the time make the same decision. Sometimes from the other side you think, why are you doing that? And I told my wife, this was I guess the first year I was elected, we were at a Christmas party, and I said, honey, do you know the difference between this year and last year? It was the same party and whatnot. And she said, no, it's the same. I said, no, last year we were here and half the people knew us and liked us. I said, the other half didn't know us. I said, this year, same people, half the people know and like us. The other half are mad at me about something. So, you know, and I'll give you an interesting thing, and I know some of you probably have heard, you know, years ago we started out with a plan, an idea, and it was to link Milton with the trail system, north, south, east, and west. And who's not for that? You can ride your bike, you can walk, you can ride a horse. Everybody over, you know, 99% of the people are supporting that, go forward. So as we're planning and working on it, now we're getting into implementation, and like I said, we bought some properties we want to link up, and again, from a global standpoint, it sounds great. Well, now all of a sudden, we're getting people coming out of the woodworks complaining and against it. And you're like, well, what do you mean? You were all supporting this and everything. Well, yeah, it's a great idea, but I didn't think it was going to be near my house. I thought it would be down the street. So my point to that is, and I'm not knocking, I certainly understand that, I respect that from those individuals, but my point is, no matter what you do from the elected side, it may sound good, but there's always going to be some, you know, some pushback on it. So, but I'll kind of just open up if anybody has any specific questions or whatever.
You just referred to it, and you may repeat yourself, but talk to us about the park off of Freemanville, close to the creek.
The park off of Freemanville.
He means Atlantic.
The country club?
The country club or the school. The school board's got some property there too.
In Woodrow?
Yes.
The property there.
That's Fulton County.
Yeah, Fulton County School owns that. They've been in talks with us about doing an MOU, possibly to where we could use it as parkland, you know, for a prescribed amount of time until they ultimately do something with it. And you know, the advantage to them is that we can upkeep it and monitor. Right now, we don't have any control of it, and so again, that's a kind of a no-win situation, because some people that live around there are mad because people are out there working or doing stuff and hunting and riding and walking, and we have no control of it. Versus if we do an MOU and open it up to people to use, then you know, again, some folks are excited about it or whatever, but we're not at that point yet. We're with that. That's kind of long term, and we're in discussions with them, but there's been no decisions on that. So.
What about the park, the country club?
the country club is, and as most of you, or some of you may know, we purchased the old Milton Country Club land. And going back to what I was saying earlier, the interesting thing is, I remember years ago, first year or two as a city, they came to us. It was Alpharetta Country Club. They had to renew their license. And I said to them, I said, you know, in a public meeting, I said, well, why do you want to change it to Milton Country Club instead of Alpharetta? And they said, no, we don't want Milton's reputation, we want Alpharetta's reputation. So I always joke with my friend, the mayor of Alpharetta and all, when we're speaking, I said, and now fast forward 10, 12 years later, look at every real estate book you see, everything. Milton location, close in Milton. Alpharetta, but close to Milton. So, but anyways, and the reason we purchased that property with the bond money, and a lot of people didn't understand. They're like, well, is the city coming in and taking away a golf course? Well, the reality is we weren't. That golf course had gone under, and they were selling to a developer to build homes. So we looked at it as a way to come in and put some passive land and whatnot. So right now we're, the other thing that I have learned, and you have to realize government takes a lot longer when you're spending taxpayer dollars and you got to do all these studies and, you know, whatnot. So right now we have gotten some consultants come back with some plans and whatnot, and we've got to decide. It's kind of a tiered thing where, you know, we want to just get it open to where people can walk on it and whatnot. We're working with some of the homeowners there with easements and removing those and whatnot, pulling, you know, so that they don't have people coming up near their houses. But it will be a long-term process as far as what ultimately when we get trails and whatnot.
Is there going to be another access to it other than the one on Dinsmore?
There's discussion on it, about four different points, but and, you know, there's nothing been decided yet. So we're going to have some public meetings to actually, you know, get some input on that. Go ahead. Cynthia.
2 questions. Do you predict us ever being Milton County in the future? I know that's long term. And the other question would be, everybody asks me, you know, they're moving, they're downsizing, and then the school tax is deferred in Cherokee County. Do you think that will ever happen out here for us?
You know, I'll answer the best I can. Those
Yeah, I mean, what do you see? I mean, what do you see?
You know, I totally understand the Milton County thing. I mean, obviously, it benefits everybody in North Fulton if we were our own county because we're funding a lot. The problem is, you got to get everybody else to agree that is benefiting with Grady and Marta and everything else. I followed that for, you know, obviously it was a big push a while back, and Jan Jones was in front of it and all, and I kind of realized they weren't getting the traction that they could. I would say this, there's been a big change in Fulton County with representation and our commissioners and whatnot, to where over the last 10 years to where the county has really worked with the cities much better and not alienate us and whatnot. The second question, you know, again, that's the county school taxes and whatnot, because your county taxes and your school taxes are that's about 70% of your tax bill. It's interesting, the city does so many services on about 30% of it, it's almost crazy, but, and that's a tough one because there's a cost. I mean, part of the schools, that's what our property values are so good, because people want to move here, we got great schools. There's a cost to have your school system, so if you take it out for seniors, you're gonna have to add it to people that aren't seniors. So, you know, it's an easy one if you start from scratch, but at this point, you know, it sounds great, and as us that don't have kids and maybe could qualify for it, we think it's great, but then all of a sudden the majority of people are gonna get hit with, you know, higher taxes. So I don't know how that, you know, what the process would be on that, so.
All right.
If you start up Milton County,
What,
would you
hold on one
please,
sec,
if
hold
you
on.
start Milton County, would you please annex Johns Creek?
Well, we do, I will say that, and I'm sorry, we do have our new community development director is from Johns Creek, lives in Johns Creek, and I just told him, I said, you know what, whenever you drive to work, just look around and say, that's what we don't want to be. And I'm not, there's nothing against Johns Creek, it's a great place, but I'm just saying, you know, we're just different. I'm sorry.
I had a question about the downtown area near Charlotte, and where it intersects with, well, was it
Maybe
Mayfield?
Rucker.
What's that development? I know it's another subdivision or in a kind of multi-plan situation, but is there gonna be another community park in there where the lake was? Can you explain that?
I will. And really, if you think of it, we want to have a kind of a 285, so to speak, or around, you know, go around there, which where Strawberry Fields is, that's going to connect over to Charlotte as a road.
Right.
The one development, if you're at the library looking across, Taylor Morrison is doing a neighborhood on the right-hand side that surrounds that pond. They're redoing the pond now. And the city had worked out something with them to where we're gonna have a small park there on the pond and a green space and whatnot for the community. Then to the left of that, there's some mixed use buildings going in that are kind of across the street from the library on that other side.
Is one of those gonna be like a 50 and older, because I saw condominiums stuff?
That's up if you go north on Birmingham Highway up to just a few blocks on the right where Strawberry Fields used to be.
Yes, yeah.
It's a whole mixed use development, but part of them is they are marketing 55 and older flats.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, good.
The landfill on Arnold Mill, off of Arnold Mill, as I understand it, there's no organic material in there, it's just construction debris. Is that due to be phased out or discontinued, or I had heard somebody say that you're gonna discontinue use of that as landfill?
It is. And honestly, I can't remember the exact date. It's shifted, but eventually that will be turned over to the city, and we'll do some kind of a passive type use of it. So.
I have a second question. The 110 acres recently purchased just off of Arnold Mill, what is the long-term plan and short-term plan for that?
Long-term plan, again, with what we purchased through a bond, we legally, which is what we wanted, we can't do anything active on that. That would just be passive. It'll be walking paths, trails, places for people to enjoy.
Can you ride horses in there?
You can ride horses on it too.
Okay.
So now what, again, the other thing a lot of people don't understand, and I've had to learn, it's one thing to buy a piece of property, just like the country club. It's, okay, hey, we got a great deal, whatever, but it's almost like if somebody gives you a yacht, then you gotta try to afford to put fuel in it and take care of it. The cost can really go up just maintaining and putting infrastructure. So a lot of this stuff, and in fact, the 80-some acres we just put under contract, and I have to get myself around, look, because, I want to be able to have the public using it and whatnot, but some of this we're just having to think 20, 30 years out in the future, that it may just sit for a while, and it may be a while before there's enough infrastructure passively for people to use it, but hopefully 20 years from now, people will appreciate that, so.
Go ahead.
Anything on the schedule for the park on Birmingham behind the fire station, the 330-something acres, when they're gonna start the trails and clean up?
They're still in the talks in that and whatnot, and I know there's, a lot of people just want to keep it passive and
Right.
not trail, so,
Right.
and I'm hopefully that's the way that's going to be, but I don't have a timeline on that, so. If, I hate to say this, but if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said 5 years, If you ask me now, it
Because
continues
it
to
seems
take
like it
longer.
keeps being pushed.
Yeah, and part of that is, Milton is park land rich, but parks poor as far as actual active parks. And, we had that, and that was on the list to get started several years back. Then we purchased property all around Bell Memorial Park and did a lot of active stuff, so we kind of budget-wise had to put that
I
back.
got you.
So, I don't see that changing for quite a while anyways.
I had a question about
Yeah,
the
sorry.
other project that you said, it's on Mayfield, that project across from the library. It seems like these smaller units or whatever is gonna go there in houses, I don't know how many are gonna go in that area, but there are a lot of people already, and I'm worried, I'm surprised that they allowed to put more of these smaller units and stuff. I don't know how much those schools can handle as far as capacity, since people are always trying to come and you can walk to all the schools. So how many are there, and how did that?
Sure.
Yeah, how'd that get?
Sure, and then I think you had a question too. So, and you know what, I'll have to, off the top of my head, I can't remember how many, gosh, I'd even be,
Oh, come on,
I'd be
Joe.
no, how many actual unit or homes are on there. Seemed like there was 50 or so, a lot of homes. And how it passed, that whole area has been zoned for years, for several years, so it wasn't a zoning, it was not rezoned. They had to go through and get their permits and all that, but again, that's one of our areas, like Crabapple, it's about 500 acres. That circle has been zoned for years with density and whatnot, so the thought process on that is people downsizing and whatnot that maybe don't have as many kids and and whatnot. The interesting thing, and I've had to just learn all this over the years, the school system, they can't project. They have to build based on what the actual demographics are right now. So they can sit there now and say, all right, we're gonna build a school next year, even though we know this is all coming, but it hasn't been here yet. That's why you see all these new schools open up and then have trailers out there the next year, because so they have to kind of go after the fact. They have to go back and rethink it or replan it afterwards. But that is tough, and the traffic and all that. And again, I'll be the first to say personally, I moved here 25 years ago. I bought a little dumpy house with 5 acres because I wanted a little bit of land, and we were going to build a new house. And it was interesting. And I promised my wife, we went from a brand new house with a full basement and a pool, and we're going to move into this little ranch that's falling apart, and we'll be here 6 months, and then we'll build and do all this stuff. And then a year went by, and we didn't do anything, and the property next door came up for sale, and it's like, gosh, I don't want to see a bunch of houses, so we bought that, So anyways, and a few years went by later, okay, we drew some plans and whatnot, and Alex has been to my house, he knows, and then it's like, oh, property behind us, so we bought that. So long story short, I remember when my son was 8 years old, my youngest, who wasn't even born when we bought, he said, Mom, why does my bedroom have a door that goes out front? And we said, well, because it's the living room, and we didn't think we'd be living here. But my point to that is that 6-month little stint ended up being 16 years that we lived in a little house squeezed in there, but we bought the property around us. And so I guess I'm relaying my personal opinion was, we used to ride our horses up and down there. If it were up to me, we'd close the gates and not have any development. But again, it's interesting as you get on the other side. You also realize people have private or have rights to their property and what existing zonings are, and I'm sure you guys all see it all the time. And sometimes people will say, hey, don't let them do this and that. But I said, well, let's turn it around. How about your 401k? Can the city take that and build a park with it or whatever? And so it's a tough balance. Which is kind of good for me. We've got a couple of new council members in the last year and a half, and they were very active in the community side, and they would always get up there and speak against things. And sometimes I remind them, like Laura Bentley, I'll say, hey, remember this email you wrote me in 2008? Just blasting me. But it's interesting for them to come in and say, oh, well, wait a minute. You see the side. You can't take the rights from someone. We can, we try to guide them, and we're working on incentives to kind of slow that down and give them incentives with permitting and fees and whatnot, discounts if they'll, and other relaxation of rules if they'll make bigger lots and things like that. But it's a tough balance. I totally get it. It kind of goes back to, like I say, everybody wants to move here, and once they move here, then they're like, okay, nobody else. So, I'm sorry.
I can ask my question later if you're out of time.
No, you had 3 hours.
Oh, great. No, I
I don't even know what time is it. We're good.
The reason I say I can talk all day, my parents bought land here in '68,
Okay.
and they built one of the first 2-story homes here in 1972, right at Birmingham Highway and Doris Road and
Okay.
Landrum Road, so.
What is your parents?
Willis's.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, thank you. Well, they love you.
No, they're great.
But anyway, so I just so appreciate so much of what you're saying. It's really funny because I grew up with the Ruckers and the Dinsmores and the Dorises and all of them, and I'm sure when we moved, they didn't want us there.
Exactly.
And then when we were there, it was funny when everyone else, wanted. But anyway, so I can appreciate.
Yeah,
that.
that's a beautiful piece, and I think the world of your parents, in fact,
Thank you.
so yeah, it's interesting. And sometimes you just have to kind of bite your tongue. I know there's in Crabapple on Broadwell, there's a lot of high density developments and whatnot, townhomes. And across the street, there's a big wooded piece, and those people have been trying to sell it and develop it for years. And everybody over here in the townhomes are complaining, well, no, we don't want to get rid of these woods. And you're like, well, what do you think these people thought when that happened?
Right. Well, I did have a question.
Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
promise. But anyway, so it also makes me sad because so many of the large landowners that were here before have not, can't keep up with taxes and everything, so they've been kind of forced to sell some of that big property, which is a sad part of the
And it is a tough thing, and it's funny, and I'm just saying this personally, it hit me like this bond that we took out. To save property, and everybody was all excited, or majority of people supported it, and a lot of people that live in a small lot or whatever, they're supporting it. And I look at myself, I've got a fairly decent sized piece of property. My escrow account went up $800 a month this year. And it's like, wait a minute, I've got the property people wanted to look at and save, but then I'm having to pay extra, so it is tough, so.
My question is about the sidewalk that's, because I know my twin boys that are 30 are building on my parents' property, which is really fun.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
they grew up playing on that land. But, so I know there's sidewalks coming. How far are you planning those? How far out are those?
You know, honestly, I don't, to get to that point, I haven't heard, heard yet, but certainly we'll look into it, so.
Okay, all right.
Because that would definitely make and again, that, things like that, it takes away from the rural feel, but it also helps because when you can walk, it means less traffic.
Well, of course, with my boys being 30, they love that whole walking,
Oh, yeah.
Being able to be connected to the greenway and everything, but a lot of other people
Did
might
you
not.
say your boys are 30?
Yeah, 2 of them. And they've been going through all the zoning, they're
Oh, wow.
building with Steve Casey and everything, so.
Yeah, but I say that,
Oh.
I would think you were 30.
She was 7.
She was 7.
I was curious, in the old days, when you got more land, you just sent your army over to Roswell and captured more land. And that was yours. I had the property listed on King, that 10 acres just before you get to Cox. And when I listed it, it was Roswell. And then all of a sudden, late one night, it became Milton.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it happened. It was interesting because when the cities were formed, Johns Creek and Milton, there was little pockets that the county still had that were not in the cities, and that area was one of them. And even though it might have been Roswell or like we were Alpharetta, you really weren't in the city limits. You were just a part of the unincorporated county, but you had a quote Roswell Alpharetta address. So there was, I forget the number of acres, but there was several spots of properties that were in between. And basically the legislators told us, well, you guys just work it out and go talk to the people. And it was so funny because I remember, and I'm totally new at this, and we're going around knocking on doors and with a couple of folks, and we were just getting shut down everywhere we'd go. They said, well, we think we're going to go to Roswell. They've got a much better, they say Milton's not financially secure, they'll have better services, blah, blah, blah. And we just kept getting slammed with that, and then we'd look, and there's Jerry Woods in his tuxedo and tennis shoes running, and he had hired this pretty girl to go with him and go knock on all the doors, tell him all this stuff. But it was interesting that, so it was kind of up to the people to decide. And so some of them became Milton, you go over on, Ebenezer Road and Cox and all that, it's a couple different. In fact, one of my friends lives in a neighborhood that's Roswell, but Milton surrounds it, and they were doing a development there, and he said all his neighbors wanted him to talk to me about it and all that, and I said, tell their neighbors, I remember knocking on their doors wanting to, when Mr. Pettit wanted to be in Milton, and they said, no, they want Roswell. So it was interesting.
Now, I know that the post office will give you an address based on their preferred route of their mail carrier. So you wind up being Roswell mail standpoint, but come under your zoning, for example. So
I don't know if I follow that exactly, but zip code wise, yes, they
Yeah.
do have it that way. So
Well, the tax records will say one thing, but your mailing address is something else. That is an issue. I just sold a house on Arnold Mill, that the address.
there is some, and there's like
2 addresses.
on Arnold Mill, there's 7 times
Yeah,
the borders change. I mean, I googled this, to get here, and it obviously comes up Alpharetta. So
you can go to Snellville and make 15 times the same ballot.
yeah. So anybody, anything else? I would also encourage you, and I know there's a lot of frustration, with anything. I mean, like I say, I deal with a lot of other cities too. I run into the same issues on the private side. Please keep in touch. I mean, feel free to always, my email address and phone number's on the web. Can't promise I can fix or help everything, but certainly come talk to us. If you have any clients that have some concerns or whatever, sometimes I've found that helps if they can go sit down with the mayor and some of the city staff and, kind of give them some information or a piece, if they've got some fears about stuff. So we certainly are open and want to help. That's one of the biggest, I say, advantages to being a small city versus when it was just the county. If you had an issue, we'll at least talk to you, and we live here and we care. So we'll try to help out as best we can. So please keep that in mind.
I just wanted to thank you for the communication via emails. I get emails from the city of Milton all the time explaining what's going on. And you can watch the last meeting and hear what happens and everything, and I'm getting too much information.
Yeah, we've got our Shannon does a great job with our communication. That's the other thing. That's the other thing I would say, and I have learned, a lot of people, you think of your government as just, people just putting their time in and whatever, but I'm just very, very impressed. We're fortunate. We've got some great people that work for the city, and they truly do care. They really work very hard. They care about the city, and I'd put them on par with anybody on the private side as far as, ability and commitment, so.
What are you, is there any
Whoa,
plan?
didn't you say 2 questions?
No, I didn't say that.
He said 3 hours.
Are there any plans to enhance the sewer capability, or are we just gonna have a single family on 1 acre lot for septic?
Again, and like I say, I'll be here 2 more years. I certainly can't foresee it, I know, in the near future. Again, that's part of what keeps, I think that would be there's 2 things. It would be hard to get the community to embrace it. And number 2, the cost of infrastructure. I have some people that say, they've got a property over here and they say, look, we want to have sewer and we want high density. And, I realize it's probably not going to happen, but sometimes I'll tell them, look, even if I told you, if I could approve that and did it, it doesn't make sense to get the infrastructure there, because you've already got existing homes and whatnot to bring in sewer. Even if you could get the county to do that, it would be tough. Now there's some little pockets around where there's existing sewer that they could add, but again, that's always been a hot topic and a touchy situation in Milton, so.
All right, guys, let's give Joe a hand.